Welcome to Bridal Owner Success Stories. I'm your host, Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, also known as BOSS. Each episode of this podcast, we will dive deep into hearing the stories of successful bridal shop owners, uncovering their biggest challenges and their valuable life lessons. I can't wait for you to get to know them as well. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Bridal Owner Success Stories podcast. And this is Mindy Linscomb, your host. And I am here with Kylie Hester. I'm so excited that you're here today. I'd love for you to tell us the name of your store and where you're located.
Yes, thank you for having me, Mindy. I own a bridal shop called Leora Bridal, and we're located just south of Richmond, Virginia.
I love it. Well, we got to meet each other in person a few years ago, and I'm so proud of your journey as a bridal shop owner. You are doing all the things, easy and hard. But I want to start with just understanding why you and your husband decided, of all of the careers you could have and all the businesses you could start, why you decided to open a bridal store. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so our story kind of starts further back a little bit. So I'm going to rewind before. But when we were planning our wedding, my mom and I absolutely loved just the whole wedding planning process. And my parents are very entrepreneurial. Like growing up around the dinner table, we would all discuss business ideas. Almost every family dinner was talking about a new business idea. And so my parents were looking to start a business together. And we were finding that there weren't as many venues around the area when we were planning our wedding. That has since changed. But my parents were like, hey, what if we got into weddings? And so they ended up buying a wedding venue in 2018. I left my job in finance to work for them, which was an awesome move. I absolutely love working with brides, grooms, engaged couples. It's such a fun season to be working with customers in that way. And so I've been working in weddings since 2018 as a wedding coordinator and just on the venue side of things. But then I had a friend in 2021 who reached out to me. She owned a bridal shop not far from the venue. And she said, hey, I'm looking to kind of make a career change. I think I'm going to move and I think it's time for me to step out of bridal. Do you know anyone who might be interested in stepping into bridal? And so my husband and I started talking about it and we were like, we've never heard of this before, but would a bridal shop work at a wedding venue? And so I started brainstorming what that could look like and started kind of putting together a business plan and really talking to my friend who had owned the shop to see what her thoughts were. And so we ended up starting Leora Bridal at my parents' wedding venue. And the building that we were supposed to move into when we first opened had some construction delays. So we ended up pivoting and we started in a renovated silo, a grain bin, like one of those metal silos, like Joanna Gaines type vibe. And my dad and my husband, Johnny, renovated the inside of it, just like very DIY. And we started in this little small shop. We were there for a year before the building was completed. And then we moved into the building we're in now, which is great because we can take more appointments. We have windows. We didn't have windows in the silo. So that has been a great transition. But ultimately, what got me into bridal was my heart for engaged couples and this exciting season that they're in. And when my friend had reached out, I really had never thought about being in bridal, but it was kind of the spark that led to, hey, we could do this together. We could really bless people in this way and make an exciting experience, not only on the venue side, but also leading up to their wedding day when they're shopping for wedding gowns or menswear. So that's
Has
been
it
fun.
helped you? I think a lot of people listening would probably think that that would help you get customers by being at a venue. Have you guys been able to see reciprocity between the two businesses?
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. I thought because of this following we had with the venue, people would just flock to the bridal shop right away. But it took a little bit more marketing than I realized to get our name out there and really tell people like what we were about and why we were doing it. And now that we've really established ourselves a little bit more, we've been open for almost 3 years now, so we're still babies. But it's been awesome, like seeing brides and grooms get excited about it. We've gotten more creative with how we tour people through the shop and how we explain the perks of the shop on site. one of the bigger challenges I think was people travel to go find wedding venues. So not everyone was just super local. So we were pulling in people that are going to be traveling back to shop for their wedding dress or menswear. So really explaining the value that they're going to get to come back and experience that on site at the venue is really cool. And the perks and conveniences we could make even on their wedding weekend.
Are
Like
you at all still helping in the wedding venue business?
I am currently, so I was working full time in the wedding venue business and opening the bridal shop at the same time, which was a lot. So I ended up moving more part time. So I work part time for the venue. I coordinate one wedding a month for my parents. And that has been a better work life balance, I would say. But it's awesome to still be in both because I can kind of speak to the value of both in both businesses and build deeper relationships with our brides and grooms.
And then the rest of your time is allocated to the boutique.
Yes, and I'm also a mom to a 2-year-old boy, so a lot of my time gets split between those three things.
Wow. Okay. And did you think it was going to be easy to have the business and be a mom?
So we're crazy, and we opened the bridal shop 10 days after I had him. So I was, I was actually crazy. I would never recommend that to anybody, but thankfully, I would say I wish I would have known back then, but then I wouldn't have started the bridal shop. So I'm glad that I've been through that and
You're
figured
like
it
a
out.
girl after my own heart. People think I'm crazy, but that's up there. Like I
Yeah.
am like, wow, I have met my match, Kylie.
Well, we designed our business plan with a full-time manager. So she did start with me and was involved in a lot of the business planning with me. So that was my saving grace. I really, in the beginning, just let her run with it. And I trusted her with a lot, and she was incredible. But it was a lot starting it. And I think as a mom, it's totally cool to have other passions, but every season looks a little bit different in what the balance looks like. And for me, I was a little bit more mom than business owner in the beginning, which is not great starting a business. But even though we had a slower start, I'm really thankful to be where we are now, and just those shifts over time. Like I'm still in transition seasons all the time. I feel like trying to balance mom life and my other passions like the bridal shop.
What would you say the shift is happening? What's the shift?
So I have a toddler who is high energy. And so I used to be able to bring him to the shop. Mindy, you actually had helped me with that shift where I was bringing him into the shop when he was younger, kind of more baby at the time. And
Yeah.
so now that he's such high energy, he needs a lot more engagement, I feel like. Just he's learning so much at this season. So I've recently shifted to a little bit more childcare, and I'm thankful to be able to do that. And I'm in the business without my attention being divided as much. Although there are still days where I pack him up in the car and he comes with me because I have to do what I have to do. But he, just being more high energy toddler, our life looks a little bit different now in terms of childcare and more focus in the business. So,
Yeah, and there's like seasons, right? There's
yeah.
seasons for everything. And so, I mean, if you were to look at the last 15 years of me being a mom and this being the very first week
Yeah.
of me having all four kids in school all day of 15 years, when 17 years I've had this business, or I'm in my 17th year, I just look at, I'm like, okay, I've had live-in nannies, I've had au pairs, I've had part-time nannies, I've had family help, I've had friends, I've had high school girls, I've had everything you can imagine
Yeah.
because every season is different and what you need is different. And also what your husband's availability is dependent too, because, a lot of times we were busy nights and weekends at the shop. And so we would switch. He would be with the kids at nights and weekends when I was at the shop and then vice versa. And it was just always, a commitment we both had to see this thing succeed, but it was hard to figure out how to do the parent thing and the working thing. And I'm sure you might want more. And so it's like, okay, how do we do that when we do round two? How's this going to look? So I'm proud of you for adjusting and just knowing that just because something's the right thing right now, it'll probably change again.
Yeah.
and then it'll change again, and then it'll change again, and just do what you need in every given season.
Sure. Yeah, you've been such a huge help for me in that way. And it's funny because when I invested in you as a coach, I obviously had hopes and dreams of how it would affect the business, but even like your advice in how to navigate being a mom too has helped me so much in my personal life, which then spills into my business because my mental health is better. So I can focus more in my business and give it more than just this like constant tug between mom and business. I feel like I'm definitely in a more comfortable place of just being okay with the changes that need to happen when those seasons do change, which is so
That's
nice.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that, because that's what matters more to me than business, is that your families are successful too. So that's good to hear. Thank you for sharing that. So when you look back, what do you wish you knew that now you know, that you're like, man, I just wish somebody would have told me that before I started a bridal store? What do you wish you knew?
There's so many things. I'm going to say two. One, um, marketing is more expensive than I thought it was going to be. So the person we bought inventory from was in a very high traffic area. And so she actually spent a little bit less in marketing, like very little in marketing. So, but we assumed that because of the venue, we would be able to just spend like very little in marketing as well because we had that traffic. But we're seeing that we do need to have more invested in marketing, and thankfully you've given us very good like calculations to like easily figure out like how much we should spend on marketing, because that was such a great area for us. And I think
Mhm.
if we would have invested the right amount in the right ways in the beginning, we would have seen higher traffic growth right off the bat. So that's one thing I really wish I knew more about when we were making our business plan. Another thing I would say is inventory, like understanding how much we should have, and like even size ranges. Like I was just very unsure about how to manage what dresses to have in the store, but you also have given me so many good calculations of like how many dresses I should have in the store based on our sales, and also even just how many designers and what designers to carry, because it's easy to go to market for the first time and be like, oh, I should have so much more, like I don't have all of these different designers, and you get a little googly eyed and like confused, but then you go back to your numbers and you're like, I can't afford more, like I can't afford these minimums. And so that was just such a great area when we were first starting, and I definitely wish I would have had more advice in that way before as well.
Running a successful bridal shop can be challenging, but with the right support, it can also be incredibly rewarding. Hi, I'm Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, aka Boss. After 17 years in the bridal industry, I've developed proven strategies that drive both positivity and profitability in your business. Through Boss, you'll receive insightful coaching, time-tested frameworks, and a community of bridal shop owners dedicated to helping each other succeed. Ready to boost your profitability and find more energy in your business? Visit bridalownersuccess.com and sign up for Boss today. But you learned it pretty soon compared to most. Most owners go a long time before they get help. So I'm proud of you for getting help as soon as you did. That was pretty awesome. What would you say so far in your few years of owning? What's like the biggest mistake that you go, oh my gosh, I will never make this mistake again? And you can laugh about it now, but at the moment, it was either very costly, or even as a leader, you feel like, oh man, I didn't handle that employee well and I lost her and I could have kept her. Or maybe it's, just a decision that you made on anything really, that you're like, now I am smarter because of it and I learned my lesson.
Yeah. You're probably going to laugh at me now knowing that I have implemented a lot of what you teach. But in the beginning, when we were in the silo, I was very lax about like who took what appointments, and even to the point where if there were a few girls in the store because we were just in that tiny silo, I was just like, you all can help the bride. Like you guys can work together. And there was no way to track any sort of information of like what was working to sell a bride, who was working with that bride, who was following up with that bride. It was just very like we didn't record much of like who did what, and it was just kind of like if you were in the shop, my couple girls that I had in there, they worked together, and thankfully they meshed really well, and we didn't cause like any huge like problems. But I don't really have a lot of good data from the beginning to track like what was working, or even to reward the girls for their success and achievements of like, hey, you've been closing so many brides, like what's working for you, let's share with the team. Like I really just was so hands off with that. And part of that was because I wasn't as in the business because of my baby. But knowing now like how important just tracking your numbers, watching them, being able to encourage the team with them and like celebrate their wins, and also see when your stylists are not performing the way that they should be and being able to coach them and help them. I didn't really do any of that, or I didn't even know how to do that in the beginning. So I'm so grateful now that we are a lot more organized, and it gives my stylist peace of mind too. We recently talked about this on a coaching call with you, but just like they trust me and like what appointments they're getting. They know how to look at their performance. They know when they're doing well and when they're not. It's not this question mark of like, oh, is Kylie happy with me or not? They just know like kind of where they stand because they're watching their numbers just as much as I am. So that's been really good. And not in a like, it's not in a way that's like stressful. Like it's actually in a way that just gives freedom, which is really nice.
Yeah, because I never want anybody to feel like their value is based on the numbers that they meet. They're
Correct.
valuable because they're a human that we see as worthy of having value, right?
Exactly.
But some people do want to know how are they doing in their outcomes at work. And people would tell you in any career path that they like to know if what they're doing works, if it's like satisfactory, how is their outcome? And then when you do kind of put some measurements in place, it helps people to identify where they can improve and then also, how they're killing it. So we like to celebrate them big that they're doing a great job. And there's other things, right? We talk about other things that you can celebrate besides numbers. You can celebrate Google reviews that somebody just got a really raving review because of the service that they offered. And we like to read that to the team or, coming alongside as a good team member to someone else. We like to acknowledge that and brag on each other to create a good culture amongst a team.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you say currently? How many people do you have, and what are the roles that they have on your team?
Yeah, so we currently have three stylists, and then I am more in the manager role now. Um, we have had a full-time manager in the past, like I explained, but when she took a step back, because she's actually about to have a baby now and is just in a different season of life, I decided instead of like rehiring that position, I was going to step in more as a manager. And so that is working for us right now. I would say that it was a big adjustment for me, like being more in the managerial role and being more involved. But it's been really cool because it's opened my eyes to a lot of things that maybe I didn't notice before because I'm in the nitty gritty a lot more. And um, so, yeah, that's what we're currently at is three stylists, and then I'm in the manager role. I have had four stylists before, and that's really nice. I feel like we have like a good system with four. Three is a little like small for us, but it's working right now, and we're kind of coming out of like the slower season heading into a busier season. So we're in that spot right now.
And then what does your husband do for the business? Does he do anything?
Yes. So my husband co-owns it with me. So he is not as much in the shop unless he's like fixing something for us, which does happen. But he is doing payroll. He's also tracking our finances a little bit more closely. And so he and I try to meet about every month or so. We need to get a little bit more consistent about our meetings, but we try to just have focused time to talk about the business, even though we see each other every day. It's definitely something we still have to schedule out, but he is in payroll and also is just my sounding board when I'm having like a customer service issue or just I'm kind of at a fork in the road with a decision I can make. He's really great with just helping with those decisions too.
That's awesome. So he works full time in another job.
Yes, he does. He's a project manager in construction.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so if you were to say you're like the thing that you think is so fun that surprises you that you're like, oh, I just actually find this so fun. Owning a bridal shop is fun because what would you say?
For me, it's working with people. I'm an extrovert by nature, so I get so much energy from being around people. So, being in a bridal appointment, hanging out with like the friends or family that the bride brings to her appointment, celebrating with her, and even like our team meetings, getting to like celebrate and coach our team. That is so much fun for me. Watching obviously brides find their dream dress, watching the team. Grow and develop and grow close to each other too. We have like a really good culture at Leora. So I'm really thankful for that. And it just brings me a lot of joy. Even going to like expos, I come home like super energized, meeting all the new potential brides that might come to Leora. I think wedding planning is like the most fun season. Like I said, that's kind of why we got into weddings in the first place. So getting to talk with people is awesome, super fun.
So what would you say if you were to write a book right now about the journey and adventure of owning a bridal store? What would you title it and what would it be about?
I think I would title it I'm a Little Crazy, and it would be about just the risks that you take, and not just like financial risks, but like the risks even because when you like invest in a business and you see its potential long term, you're also risking like whatever may be in your personal future too. So like I don't know, just kind of what we talked about with those changing of seasons. I know that my life is going to look different probably in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but I've chosen to commit to Leora. And so that's going to be a part of whatever like my life looks like through those seasons. So I do think entrepreneurs have to be a little crazy and definitely have to be okay with risk. And just like talking about those risks and maybe some of them that I've jumped through in the short 3 years that we've had Leora, um, would be kind of fun to write about.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I hope it inspires people to take more risk because they do pay off, but calculated risks are a little bit what I like to focus on when Jordan and I talk about things. We're like, okay, we want to make a risk, but not just like without thought. So,
Yes.
thinking through it and then going for it because
Yeah.
we know that we're going to work harder than most people and we know we'll figure it out. So,
Yes.
you're that type of person. I think you're an entrepreneur deep down. And these bridal shop owners, we are crazy. Uh,
Yes.
but we're also doing something we love and it
Yeah.
doesn't get old. Like I said, 17 years and I'm still on Saturdays. I love seeing the brides find the one and it just doesn't get old.
It's so fun. And I think like with risk, um, investing in coaching and mentorship, I know you like talk about this a lot in your podcast as well, but the investments we've made in like learning things early on, has helped mitigate the risk in a way that makes it a little bit more comfortable. Like we have still had hard financial seasons that have been uncomfortable. I'd say our first year in business was definitely uncomfortable financially. But then I met you towards the end of our first year, or actually, I think we might have been in year two. But you were someone that I found that was like steps ahead of where, like, you were where I wanted to be. And I saw like your story and I was like, I'm where you used to be. Like, I was 27 when I started my shop, just like you. And not that it has to do with age, but we had a lot of like overlapping beliefs and values, and the way you love and serve your team and your customers was just something that I was like, this is the kind of shop I want to grow into. And so finding a coach that matches those values was huge for me. And when we first met you, I don't know if you remember this, but Johnny was very hesitant about investing in coaching because we were uncomfortable financially. Like we were coming out of that season. So he was like, I don't know if we can be spending money on this right now. Like maybe in 5 years, like we should do this. And we could not have afforded to not invest in your coaching. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast, but like it has paid for itself 10 times over, probably more than 10 times over. Like we year 1 to year 2, we grew our sales by 150%. And then year 2 to year 3, we are on track to grow our sales by another 50%, which is like unheard of. And we part of the huge jump from year 1 to 2 was growing into the new store, but a lot of the fact that we're still growing like over 50%, on track to grow over 50% this third year, is like mostly because of coaching and the things that we've implemented. So I would say, like, with the risk, you can calculate the risk still. Like, you can invest in ways that aren't like you're just swimming in the darkness.
No, it's so true. And first of all, I want to say thank you. That makes me want to cry because it's so awesome to see how impactful it was. And I know it works because I've been doing it myself and I'm still doing it, right? I'm still in it. And I know it works, but not everybody implements. And so I want to say kudos to you for implementing the things that we recommended. And what I really think a key point for people to hear is like, could you learn the things that I teach or any coach teaches? Could you learn on your own, whatever industry you're in? Yes, you can, but it's going to take you 10 years, 15 years, 17 years, or whatever it is to learn those things. So when you pay for a coach, what you do is you speed up your traction. And so instead of it taking 10 years, like to potentially hit whatever sales number you hit in year 2, you just took 1 year to do it. And so it does, like you said, it does pay for itself. I still pay for coaching and I believe in it wholeheartedly. So thank you for talking about that because it is huge. So anyways, well, I want to encourage people to check out this podcast if you're a bridal shop owner and tell your friends about it because we are just a group of ladies that really are passionate about serving brides and about also just talking about the journey. So thanks for being on the show today, Kylie.
Thank you, Mindy.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bridal Owner Success Stories. I hope you found some inspiration and encouragement for your own career in the bridal industry. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We are in this together.